Welcome back, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here with my Chief Operating Officer, Christopher Johnson, and we are both so excited to be here. Admittedly, in the past couple of weeks, I've been down with COVID, Chris has been down with COVID, and even Alonzo, my other C-level executives, have been in Jamaica celebrating his 10th year anniversary. So, we're excited to be back. We have so many exciting things to talk about today. Can't wait to have this conversation. But before we do, we've got some announcements that we want to make. Tomorrow, we're going to finish the final day of the Azure Bootcamp. We're going to kick off learning.
Yeah!
Exactly. We're back and we're excited about it. We'll be back with the free Azure Bootcamp. It is going to come back tomorrow. So we'll be on at 9 o'clock in the morning answering any cloud architect, cloud engineer, network architect, network engineer questions you may have about building your career, because we want to get everybody cloud hired or cloud promoted. So we're going to be back tomorrow morning completely free, answering any career questions you have. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be back with the free Azure Solutions Architect Expert Bootcamp. But it doesn't just stop there. Networking is the heart of the cloud. No network, there is no cloud. So in order to help you guys out, we're going to run 2 networking boot camps. Now, we know networking. I'm one of the first Cisco certified internet experts. My number is 7417. I've been involved in networking for 25 years. I was a lead architect for nearly a decade at Cisco, and I've been teaching networking to people at Cisco and other tech companies for 2 decades. And I want to make sure you guys understand networking, and we're going to make it easy to understand. And I know networking seems complicated to a lot of people, and here's why. As Albert Einstein says, if you can't explain it simply enough, you don't know it well enough. And I've spent 25 years in networking, and we're going to make sure you all learn it. So please register for the free subnetting workshop and the free BGP workshop next week, because we want to get you all cloud hired or cloud promoted. Now, in addition to that, we want to give you guys tech knowledge, and I don't ever want you guys to have to learn from people that have never worked in the industry, that are certified but not experienced. So we're going to do another free AWS Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp the following week. So this month we've got you covered. Final day of Azure tomorrow, a subnetting and a BGP workshop, and even an AWS bootcamp the following week. Now, I wasn't here answering questions the way I normally could be. Chris wasn't here. So we've decided to extend our 4th of July discount that was currently going on for a little while longer, to make sure that you have all the access to the training that you need to get hired. I know times are hard with the high inflationary environment, gas prices going up, and the job market's getting more competitive, so you need to be better than the competition. And we make the best cloud architects and cloud engineers in the world. So we've extended our sale. If you want to get cloud hired, we'll do everything we can to help you. Now, tonight we're going to talk about exercising influence, or gaining influence, and how to lead with influence. And of course, one of my favorite reads, Robert Cialdini's The 6 Principles of Influence. We will talk about ethically influencing others. We're not talking about, controlling people's minds. We are going to talk about Robert Cialdini and the science of persuasion, since he studied it more than many others. We'll talk about gaining influence. You may hear it called influence leadership, but really it's about how to lead with influence. We'll touch Robert Cialdini, the influence guruji, who's been out there, who's studied everything. We'll talk about Robert Cialdini's principles of persuasion, the Robert Cialdini principle of reciprocity. We'll talk about the Robert Cialdini principle of liking. We'll talk about the scarcity principle, the authority principle, the social proof principles, the commitment and consistency principle, because, this is cloud architect leadership. And if you want to be a cloud architect, you've got to have these kind of leadership skills. Why does it matter so much? Why is it so critical for the cloud architect to be able to lead with influence? Well, a couple of things. Who do you think's a better architect? A doctor that's never worked in tech, that knows absolutely zero in tech, that's a great leader, that can get 10 CCIE network architects, 10 AWS architects with 10 years experience, 5 security architects that they hired from Palo Alto Networks, 5 more security architects hired from Check Point, 5 physical security experts hired from the Israeli Mossad, and then, a database architect from Oracle. Now you've got that one person. It's a doctor that knows zero about tech, but they're a leader and they can put all the experts together to design an architecture. Or the 10x AWS certified person, which doesn't even know what they don't know about anything. Who do you want? You want the person with leadership skills, because a team is always better than one. Well, that's not true. If you want to go fast, go alone. Meaning if you want to run, 5 miles, go alone. But as the proverb says, if you want to go far, go together. Nothing good is accomplished with one person. Even Apple, it wasn't just Steve Jobs, it was Steve Wozniak behind the scenes. Nothing good happens with just one person. There's no such thing as a one-man Rambo or a one-woman Rambo or a one-person wrecking crew. It takes a team. Now, here's the thing. You can't yell at your team and say, do this right now. If I called Chris and it was an emergency, I said, do this, Chris, he'd say, sure, Mike. But if I said, Chris, you must do this now, 3 days later, he'd have a new job. Now, as an architect, you're going to have to lead very capable engineers, very capable architects, other business professionals. You're going to be responsible for this. And if you don't have these leaderships, you're not getting cloud hired. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to architect training, the people that just study tech never will work. And here's the reason why. This is a job where you're a 50% executive and a 50% technology professional. Now, you need to be a good technology professional. But going back to our doctor versus our 10x AWS certified, who do you want? The doctor that knows nothing about the tech, that can lead a team of 50 of the world's best? Or the 10x AWS certified that doesn't even know what they don't know? I want the doctor every time. Now, combine leadership skills like that and technical knowledge, and you are unstoppable. So for those reasons, we're going to talk about this. Now, when we train people in our cloud architect career development program, we use a combination of leadership and influence skills from various methodologies. How important is this to me? Well, I've taken at least 10 courses valued at least $50,000 to learn these skills. And I read about them constantly for the last 15 to 20 years. That's how much it matters to me. There's not a day that goes by where I don't study how to be a better leader, because it means that much to me, and it meant that much to my career, and it meant that much to my students. Now, tonight we're going to talk about Robert Cialdini and the 6 principles of influence that he created. Now, there's lots of other things that are out there, but Robert Cialdini is the master. Robert Cialdini has done more work in terms of the psychology of exercising influence than anyone else that's out there. So we want to share one of our favorite authors, one of our favorite research scientists, and their finding on how to lead with influence, because I want you all getting cloud hired, cloud promoted. When I get promoted, learn how to lead with influence. When I get hired as an architect, learn how to lead as influence. When I become a C-level executive, you better learn how to lead with influence. So we are real excited to have you. So Chris, now that we've covered why it's so critical to lead with influence, let me turn it over to you.
All right. Well, before we get started, I wanna do our age-old tradition of figuring out where everybody is from. So, if everybody would do me a favor, I don't get to ask this all. I don't think I'll ever get to ask this. Can you give me a hashtag cloud hired and where you're from in the chat box? Because I've missed you guys. I've been gone for a little while. I know Mike's been out of it for a little bit. We're excited to get back to this.
We're really excited.
Let us know where everyone's from, and we'll get started here. But I do want to circle back around. Bear with me. I'm still a little COVID foggy. But I want to circle back around. I know Mike mentioned it earlier, but we do have another AWS boot camp coming up. So make sure to register. We've got the link in the chat box. And we also have the link in the description. And then we also have next week, we've got the 2 networking boot camp workshops, the subnetting and the BGP workshops next week. So we've got a lot of content for you guys coming up. So while I wait to see where everybody is from, Mike, if you could give us a quick rundown on what the 6 principles of reciprocity. Well, I just gave one of them away. Can you give us a quick rundown of the 6 principles of influence without going into detail into all of them, because you're gonna have an opportunity to go into all of them.
Meaning just name them, and then when you ask, and okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Just that way we got a quick rundown of what they are, so people know what we're going to be covering.
You got it. And for all you guys, I'm looking over here. I'm seeing Zurich. I'm seeing Lagos. I'm seeing Brazil. I'm seeing Ghana. So I mean, we've got Nigeria and Ghana and Atlanta and Georgia and Utah. I mean, UK. I mean, this stuff is just blown away, and that's only from some that I've seen. I know we've got some great people in the Virginia Metro as well. So just super excited. The principles that Robert Cialdini talked about are as follows: the principle of reciprocity, the principle of consistency or commitment, the principle of social proof, which is a very interesting one, the principle of authority, which when we talk about it, it'll make total sense to you, the principle of scarcity, and the principle of liking. Learn these and it will change your life and your career. You're muted, Chris.
Yeah, so like Leo says here, make sure to hit that like button for us, and be ready to share this with anyone that will benefit from it. So I'm going to ask Mike to go over these, but I want him to hold his favorite of these 6 to the end. So you can't go over your favorite one until the end, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. This is so important. We're going to hold my favorite and why it's my favorite until the end.
Yep. So, wow, Sao Paulo. Oh, that's Leo, of course. Sorry. Liverpool. All right, California.
Sacramento.
Oh, Hartford, Connecticut. Huh. I know somebody up that way. Let's see. Oh. Pakistan, New Zealand. Wow, what time is it right now?
I think I haven't been to New Zealand and Australia in a little while, but they should be waking up around now.
Oh, okay. All right. Zurich, CH. Is that Switzerland?
Normally I would think Zurich is Switzerland, and I typically think CH is Czechoslovakia, but I'm not sure.
Huh. Interesting. So we got Atlanta, Virginia. I was in Virginia for a little bit. Ooh, Barth in Brazil.
Love that.
Banshee in Lagos.
Fantastic.
Minnesota. All right. I'm getting bogged down in these here. So, all right. So, Mike, let's start with the first one on my list here.
Okay, but can I ask for a cloud architect in the chat box, please? Just makes me happy.
To be fair, we should ask for a cloud architect
or cloud engineer.
Cloud engineer.
Yes. Give me a cloud architect and a cloud engineer.
Whichever
one you desire to be.
Yep, exactly. So if you want to be an architect, give us a cloud architect. If you want to be an engineer, give us a cloud engineer. All right. So while those roll in, Mike, I'll ask you to give us a rundown about the principle of reciprocity.
Okay, the principle of reciprocity is a pretty important one. And I want to teach you how to maximize this. Here's what the principle of reciprocity states. If you do something for someone, they're likely to do something for you. Now think about that in your life. You go to work. One day you buy someone lunch. The next day, hopefully they buy you lunch. Sort of works itself out. That's the principle of reciprocity. Somebody needs help at work, and you give them help. They're more inclined to help you in the future. Now, there's some rules with this. Let's make sure Chris looks like he's okay. Okay, so there's some rules with this. And here's the thing, the size of the favor matters. If I give someone a new car, versus I give someone a bag of cat food, the person that I gave the card to is most likely going to be willing to give me a bigger favor. Now, having said that, if they're a cat person like me and they love their cats, who knows? They might actually be even happier with the cat food. But as a rule, the person that gets the car is going to be more happy than the person that gets the cat food. So the size of the favor matters. But what else matters? When the favor occurred. So there's a person about 20 years ago. I took this kid and got him a great job. The kid was in a pretty bad situation. Now, let's assume I haven't spoken to him for 20 years. If I call him up and say, hey, help me out, he'll probably help me out because he went through my leadership course. But how inclined is somebody after 20 years to help you? Well, it depends on the size of the favor. But, it's one of those things. So this timing of the favor matters. So if you do somebody a favor for somebody 50 years ago, and you call them the favor, they may be less likely to return that favor than if you did it yesterday. But it's not just this. Most people destroy the reciprocity feature. You heard me. Most people destroy this. How do they do it? Well, here's the thing. Let's say a hospital called me and said, Mike, I need you to look into my network. We've had outages and we don't want anybody to die. I know we've got no budget for you, but you've done work here. Could you just come in and look at it? So let's say I do. I look at it. They're going to be grateful, right? They're going to say thank you. And in the future, if I need a job, I might be able to call those people for a job. But what if? What if they ask me to look at their network? I do an evaluation of the network, which is worth $50,000. I then send it back to them and say, it was nothing. Which is what most people do. You do something for someone and then they say thank you and you say it was nothing. Psychologically, what did you do to the value of that favor? You devalued it. Now, after you devalued it, how likely is that person to help you? Because they don't feel that sense of gratitude. Think about it. Do you know when spies want to entertain somebody, they take them to an expensive place and they pay cash and they get seen pushing out all the bills. Bill. Why? Because when you plunk down $500 cash or $600 cash on a dinner, it looks much more than if you give somebody your credit card. They see it, they feel it, and they're much more indebted. So this principle of reciprocity is very helpful. Now, here's the thing. Good people want to return favors. This isn't going to work with anybody. Good people want to return favors. So in your career, if you want to get ahead, help others. Now, don't help others to get ahead because they're going to sense it and they're going to sense the lack of authenticity and then they won't like you or they won't value you or trust you, but genuinely help people. This year I got well over 100 people jobs, something like that number the last time I checked. How many people are willing to help me? A lot. So think about that in your life. The principle of reciprocity, the size of the favor matters and how you respond matters. So don't say, this was nothing. Nothing. Ever. And don't by any stretch of the imagination say no problem to anything. Thank you for your help. No problem. Ugh. Here's why you should never say no problem. First, the brain doesn't process a no. Hey, guys, don't think of a pink cat. You all thought of a pink cat. Hey, don't think of a pink elephant. You thought of a pink elephant. And don't think of a green parrot. You all thought of a green parrot. The brain doesn't process that no. So when you do something for somebody and you say no problem, you introduced a lot of negativity into the conversation. Plus, you used the word problem. Now, people like people that are happy and positive. We'll talk more about that later. But here's the thing. Don't introduce any negativity. Don't. And you'll be good to go. So that is the principle of reciprocity. And I'm sure at some point there'll be some questions on that. I'd love to take them when they come in. Now back to you, Chris.
Definitely. All right. Good explanation there. So I have a question.
Great.
Oh, and this is only because I've seen other people ask similar questions, so I come prepared. So the principle of reciprocity. It is important to keep in mind that it's not leverage.
Mm.
You're not trying to hold leverage over someone or anything. You're not trying to bank up all these favors that you've done over, 5 years and gonna, wrangle people and say, all right, I did this thing for you. I need you to do this for me. That's not what we're talking about here. Correct, Mike?
Absolutely. We're not talking about that at all.
Yeah.
We're really talking about what happens. My father-in-law, I'll give the example. He is probably the nicest person that I've ever met in my life. He's the guy that that if you fall, he picks you back up. He's the guy that if somebody's stairs are cracked, he's going to knock on their door if they're his neighbor and say, look, I know cement, and help do it. Why is he going to do it? Because he wants to help his neighbor. He's loved. When I went to Greece the last time, or a couple of times ago, I tried to pay for stuff and I couldn't because they all loved my wife's father, so much that I was like the American celebrity, even though I spoke Greek, just because of that. So we're not talking about doing things with that. We're just talking about treating people well.
Correct. Yeah. So like a real-time present example for me, I'm in the process of moving into a new house, and I got put in the lurch by a contractor, and I had another one step in and save me on 4th of July weekend. Who do you think is now indebted to that person? And I will be more than happy to do anything in the future for that individual who stepped up and helped me out in this situation. So that's a real-time example of
perfect example. Now, somebody asked you who that construction worker is. You're going to be happy to tell everybody.
I already gave him. He's already got a job. He's already got another job out of me from somebody that was looking that needed somebody to do work on a condo. I was like, hey, I got a guy right here all ready for you. Come over right now. So I already did that one, but that one, in my eyes, that's not enough. Yeah, I got him hooked up with another job, but man, coming in out of the blue with less than 24 hours notice on a holiday weekend, yeah, I'll be indebted to him and be recommending forever.
And that's the thing. You treat your clients right, your patients right, your customers right, your manager right, and they'll care.
Yep. And sorry if you hear my phone dinging, it's because my wife sent me a picture of my cat who finally got moved into the house today.
And we will address the questions that are in there, especially the person that said they took a course in DevOps, security, and architect, which is 3 separate careers, and trying to mix them in one course. We will give you guidance or tell you what you need to do because,
yeah.
But we'll hold out to the end. I really want to make sure we help you.
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions. I'm not sure.
Actually, I think I saw one that was from Kemi on this topic. So let's answer Kemi's topic.
That's what I wasn't sure what they were referring to. Kimmy and Arun asked the same question.
Okay, so Kemi asked the brilliant question, and I forgot to do it. Apparently, me with the recovering from the COVID, my brain's not 100%.
Yeah. Keep us in line, everybody.
So keep us in line if I miss something. So here's the thing: if I say to a coworker, the coworker's got a networking problem in their cloud thing, and I go over and design their BGP, their IP addressing plan, their filters, etc., and they say, "Thank you, Mike." I'm not going to say it was nothing. I'm going to say, I know you would do the same for me should the situations be reversed. You're planting the seed that you have done something serious. And you know that if they were the same person with the same level of expertise, they would do the same thing, as because that's just what good people do. So you're planting the seed. You're not devaluing the favor because the favor is not nothing. It has substantial value to someone. And in the end, you've got a favor in the favor bank. But you have to be genuine with that. I'm going to tell you right now, people can sense people that are not genuine. You must be genuine, 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 genuine. And yes, so that's how I would answer it. I know you would do the same if the situations were reversed. There you go. I saw that was what I got there. What's the importance of being genuine? Absolutely. I took a job, Angelo, at a tech company many years ago. On the first day, I met the sales rep. He was dressed in Armani. He said the perfect things. He was the perfect, most educated person with an Ivy League education. And I went home on my first day, and my wife says, "How was your first day?" I said, "I'm not sure." She said, "Why?" I said, "I met my manager. I love the guy. I met the other managers, love them. But I met my salesperson," and she says, "You don't love them." I said, "I don't trust them." And she said, "Why?" I said, the person said the perfect things. They walked perfectly. They talked perfectly, but it didn't feel authentic. I'm going to tell you what else happened. Months later, I saw I was right, that the person was not authentic. But if you're not authentic, your customers can feel it, people can feel it. And you know what? It just rubs people the wrong way. And we'll talk about that more later when we get to my favorite principle in the end of why it matters.
Great. So I think we'll move on to the next one. And I got to make sure. So just so everybody knows, I'm not going to spoil it. Mike let me know what his favorite one was off screen. So I'm not going to be, you won't get a surprise in the middle of this. But I do have to find my list again. Bear with me. I'm glad everybody.
Thanks for bearing with us. We all have COVID on our team right now, and there's a third person that we work with very closely that I think has it as well.
And we're not near each other.
We're not even near each other. The three people that we're talking about are across, hundreds of miles between us.
All right. So before I get to the next one, Angela brings in another good question. And if you think this might be addressed in a later principle, just let me know and we'll bring it back. So Angela asks, how can we develop being proactively kind if it doesn't come naturally?
I have a rule. Now, I followed it since I was a kid. Treat others the way you want to be treated yourself, and you're treating people kindly and fairly. And I remember I used to teach people healthcare skills, especially firefighter, paramedics. And, we're a little bit of rough and tumble kind of people, guys, girls, we're all a little on the aggressive side. And I said, this is your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, whoever you love the most. You need to treat them the way you would want them treated, and you're going to be fine. That same principle applies, Angela. Love that question.
Yeah, I'm starting to think we might want to include some like Mr. Rogers clips in our training.
You know what? There was a book, one of my favorite books of all time, and it said, all I ever needed to know in life I learned in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. One of it was like share, take a nap in the afternoon, wash your hands. I mean, seriously, it was, if people did this, we wouldn't need police, we wouldn't have wars, and it was all there. It was just like,
Yep, exactly. I mean, I learned in kindergarten, don't stick rocks in your ear. And hey, I've done great since then. But all right, let's move on to the next one. So Mike, if you could tell us about the next one, which I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Give me a drum roll. Principle of consistency and commitment.
Absolutely. I love this principle of consistency and commitment. And here's the thing. People like to do things that are consistent with their values. People like to do things that they consistently do. So if a buddy calls me and says, hey, Mike, let's do yoga, and they know that I've been practicing yoga every day for 16 years, sure, okay, no big deal. Now, if the person says, hey, Mike, let's play football, and honestly, I've never played football in my entire life. One day, Chris was trying to explain some of the positions to me. I might be like, yeah, no. Now, with my physical condition, I couldn't play football, but that's neither here nor there. But I might be like, no. People do things that are in line with what their values are. And people do things that they're committed to as well. So there's a couple ways to really think about this. If you want to raise at work, ask your manager, Mr. Manager, Mrs. Manager, I'd like to become a manager in this organization. Could I have your support in doing that, taking the necessary training, finishing my MBA, and taking this leadership course? Ask for it. Here's the thing. If your manager says yes, they're likely to continue to assist you in that journey. If they say no, get some training and go somewhere else. But the point is, get their commitment. Is this strange? Have you ever had a politician call you and say, can I count on your vote? Why are they doing it? They're asking you something because once you commit to it, you're likely to do it. Even if you're trying to get the person off the phone as fast as possible, yeah, sure, whatever, you're still likely to do it because you said that. And they know that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Here's another way to do it. Don't ask someone to do something that's against their values. They may do it, but they will hate you. They will hate you. Understand people's values. And don't make them do things that they don't want to. So let's think about this. Early in my coaching career, early, I did not know this at all. And early, because I loved coaching so much and I had the time to do it, I was coaching everybody for free. I had tons of time. I remember my first job, people would come into my office. I had routers and switches. I was teaching everybody on my first job networking because I just loved it. I just loved it. Forget how I got on this topic, but hence the COVID brain. But, I liked it. I loved to teach. It was just exactly what I did. I was consistent about it. I was always teaching.
You were talking about don't ask people to do something that's against their values or that they don't want to do or that they.
Oh yeah, exactly. Thank you. So don't ask people to do things. So people, I did it. I was teaching it because it's what I love. Now, that's what I love. If somebody wanted me to teach a workshop on why someone should go serverless or why you could put all your eggs in one basket in a single cloud, I couldn't teach that workshop. And here's the reason why. I use open standards for everything. And I have for 20 years. When I worked at Cisco, I recommended OSPF, which was a standard routing protocol, and BGP. I didn't recommend the Cisco proprietary EIGRP. So if somebody asked me and said, Mike, here's $10,000, and they have, would you talk about why you can build high availability in a single cloud? I say no. And then they say, how about more money? And I say no. How about, Mike, I pay you to put this on your YouTube channel? No, because I don't believe in it. And I won't do things that are not consistent with my beliefs. I'm grounded in who I am. And don't ask people to do it, because if you do it, so if I were to, there's a person I'm potentially talking to, she's fantastic. If I tried to say, you need you to be a video editor full time, and she doesn't like video editing, she'd be pretty angry because it's not consistent with the things that she wants to do. So don't make people do it. Now, if I say to the same person, my main video editor is sick, you're an expert, could you do it for me for 15 minutes? That would still be consistent with someone's values. But if I tried to make somebody do what they hated, they'd hate me. And of course they would. They should. Because who makes somebody do something they hate? So keep that in the back of your mind. Learn this. So when you want to get ahead, ask someone, oh, here's what I was. In the beginning of my career, I just coached people. I just helped them. You know what? Some succeeded and some didn't. And then I started asking them, here is what my expectations of you will be. You will have to do this, 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 and this. If you don't do any one of these things, I will not coach you ever. How many of my people succeeded then? A lot more. And then I read Cialdini's book. And then what did I do? I implemented a contract, a physical contract. You must do this, 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 this. And they signed it. Wow, all of a sudden, I had an even greater return. More people were succeeding. At this point, almost everybody was. Why? because they wrote it down, and a written commitment is greater than a verbal commitment. But a verbal commitment is better than no commitment. So get commitments for everything that you do. Everything that you do. Chris, do you want to add to that?
I'm not sure if I'm ready to add to it yet. I got a little bit of COVID fog right now, but I'm wondering, I know you talked about it, but can we talk a little bit more about what are we meaning by the consistency in this situation here? And this is me personally. Again, I'm bringing my questions up while other people bring theirs in.
Yeah, great question.
I got the commitment down pat. That's you did a great job on that one, and that one's a little bit easier to wrap my head around.
So it's an issue of people tend to do the same things every day. Now, my family owned a restaurant. My father-in-law could literally cook the food for the people without them even ordering. Because people are creatures of habit. They do things on a consistent basis. So when we work within people's goals and desires and consistencies, they're much happier.
So it's about reliability and
pretty much, yes.
And expectations, I guess.
Expectations, yes.
Okay. All right. I got a great topic for a show one day. When I get to take over the channel, we're going to do an entire show about expectations.
You need to take over that show. That one I want you to lead because we know my expectations.
Yeah.
And the lack of reasonability they are, but that's what happens.
Because expectations, if not set appropriately, can set. And
yep, totally.
Well, that's a whole show in itself.
And that's an area where Chris is a huge expert. And yes, I want you all to leverage that experience to build your life.
Somebody take a note about that. Send me a message. You're going to do a show about expectations because I'm going to forget. So, all right, there was a question up here before we let's see.
There's a great one from Angela, but I want to hold out till the end. But it's a great one.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. This one was right when we started back. This one came in from Nagaraj about any pointers when there's organizational chaos and internal stakeholders don't report to you. How do you lead with influence?
That's exactly what we're talking about right now, Nagaraj. For one thing, if you've done favors, they're more likely to do things. When you ask people to do things that are consistent with their patterns of behavior, they'll be likely to do things. And then leading without authority. We're going to talk about some other ways that it's going to help you do that. Because leading without authority is a very challenging thing. But I'm going to tell you right now, anybody can be a leader. It doesn't matter who you are. Now, I've worked in top-down organizations where I took over as leader, and they were like, okay, thank God you did. Because I inserted myself as a leader. And we'll talk about those specific cases. But let's go through, Nagaraj, the things that are in this, because these are principles designed to teach you how to lead with influence. So let's go through the 6 of them, and then I want you to ask this question again.
All right, perfect. Let's hope I remember that one. All right, let's see here. All right. There you go. I hope we get to see your cat, Cindy.
Oh my God, my cat, Cindy. So if I've ever been so grateful, it's for my cat, Cindy. So let's be fair. I love my cat, Cindy. She's the second love of my life after my wife. But here's what my cat did. I had COVID for 2 weeks, and my wife was in Philadelphia with her family members, working at the hospital, so she could not come home. My cat, Cindy, wedged herself between my arm and chest and did not move for roughly 2 weeks straight. The only time she ever left my side was to go outside and bring me back a mouse, which she did twice per day. She was out for about 5 minutes and brought me back a mouse because she thought she was trying to feed me. Now, I'm going to tell you, with COVID, trying to escort a bloody mouse outside the house is not fun, but my cat didn't leave my side. Right now, she's actually outside. She had a very traumatic night last night. We had a lot of fireworks about a mile from my house. My cat was hiding under the bed, and I was literally laying on the floor petting my cat, staring at her under the bed the entire night. So hopefully she comes back, jumps on my lap, because I'd love to bring in my cat Cindy as well. She's a special baby little girl.
Well, since somebody asked about cats, I'm gonna
Yeah, show them some cats. Show
I'm
them a
gonna
Cindy
show-
photo, a Sunny photo, and a Noni photo.
I don't have a Cindy photo readily available, but I've got a
I'll fix that.
yeah, I've got a Sunny photo. So this is Sunny in our new house in the midst of chaos. In case you can't tell, she is she is not very comfortable just yet.
Oh
So
no!
there
in the
is
box.
Sunny in the bookcase.
And I sent you a photo. Oh wait, this is a better photo. Never mind. Here's a photo that I sent you of Cindy who found the box.
And
I really do love that main
by he sent me a photo that he means that he sent me a photo on the phone that I now have to get from my phone to a computer.
Oh,
I got it. I'm gonna take care of it.
see, I forget Chris doesn't use a Mac. On a Mac, I get a text and poof, I just share it.
Yeah.
Then again,
So this is Sunny. She just got into this an hour ago. So it's a bit of a madhouse, literally.
moving is not fun, and it's not easy on a cat. Plus fireworks.
Eventually, she will get used to it. So that is Sunny the cat, and let's see if we can. So. Here is Cindy the cat, who apparently found a box to help Sunny move.
Cindy loves boxes, bags. She just likes to jump in them. I don't know. I don't completely get it, but Cindy and Sunny are friends.
Yeah. So those are the two cats of Go Cloud Careers. Oh, all right. So anyway, so now that we have been thoroughly distracted by cats, let's get back to questions. Oh, all right. So let's see. Angelo asked, I think you said you wanted to ask this one later.
Yeah.
Confirm. Okay, so we'll cover that one later.
I think we should go to the next principle, and then I want to get into the concept, because there's going to be a lot of questions, but something tells me in the concept of what we're going to talk about, it's going to solve some of the questions.
Perfect. We will do that. Let me get rid of the cat alert. Now we have a thorough discussion about cats in our chat box.
I love cats. We should have a cat discussion. We're all cat people around here.
Yeah,
even Abigail Marks with the blue wrench. She's a cat person too. She's got a beautiful cat, Noni.
Give me a cat hired in the chat box there. And
yeah, how about a cat hired?
Yeah, give me a like also. got 74 people watching and 37 likes. Oh, I'm sure we can do a little bit better than that. So let me close these cat pictures. Save them for later. And we'll go on to our next principle here. It is going to be the principle of social proof.
I'm going to take an industry from, I'll be talking about the hotel industry here. Woohoo. So, okay, here's what social proof is. Social proof is kind of like, have you ever seen the penguins where they all walk in the same direction, or you see a bunch of sheep and all of a sudden there's a beautiful German shepherd and it walks and all the sheep follow in the direction? Well, social proof means people are inclined to do what most people do. I want you to think about this. People do what most people do. If all of a sudden everybody starts using Facebook and tells everybody, chances are you're going to be on Facebook too. I mean, I managed to go my whole life without using Facebook until recently, but here's the point. The point is if everybody's on Facebook, you're probably going to be too. I don't use a lot of social media because I like my privacy. Yeah. But I love education, and I find that social media like LinkedIn and YouTube lets me be everywhere and help others, so I use it all the time. Do love YouTube. It's a great platform. But the principle of social proof is people do what others are inclined to do. How do you use that to your advantage? Here's an example from Robert Cialdini. We've all stayed at hotels, right? You know how there's a sign that say, please reuse your towels to save the environment? And we're in a hotel, so we want nice, clean, fresh towels each day. So we throw them on the floor and we get new towels. Hopefully they wash them instead of just picking them up, but who knows? Chris is an expert in the hotel industry. I'm not sure. Having said that, They tried this, and they tried saying a message that says, the majority of guests reuse their towel to save the environment. Would you like to as well? Now, when that happened, 26% more people reused their towels by simply saying most people do this. Most people do this. So think about that. Most people do this. So why do people want to be the number one? Most people use AWS services. Now, if you're the AWS sales rep or a cloud architect, how easy it is to sell AWS services if most people use it? A whole lot easier. Most people have Microsoft in most organizations have benefited from Microsoft in their data centers. A lot easier. 80% of networks, and it's not true now, but it was then, 80% of networks are run by Cisco. Don't you want to be too? You know what? Around 2000, the biggest trouble with Cisco was keeping enough paper in the fax machines to handle all the orders. I'm literally not joking at all. I've worked at 2 companies. I've sold a $40 million architecture at one company, a small company, and I've sold a $1 billion architecture at a big company. Which was easier? The $1 billion architecture. What? Well, because it was at a company that was a world leader in something, and it became very simple to do so. That's the principle of social proof. Why do people get a bunch of LinkedIn followers or Facebook followers or something? Social proof. And here's the funny thing. If you have 3 followers on Facebook and you make the world's greatest post, chances are nobody's going to see it. Now you got 1,000 followers, and not actively engaged followers, but you got 1,000 followers and you make a great post. More people are going to forward it because they think you're important. Now you're a celebrity with 1 million followers and you post something that you have no knowledge about, but you've got 1 million followers. Everybody forwards it as if you're the expert. Even if you know nothing about it at all and have zero capabilities or knowledge. Why? Because it's the principle of social proof. People like to do things that other people do as well. That's the principle of social proof. So you use the principle of social proof. When you've got an architecture, most enterprise organizations use this. 62% of enterprise organizations use this. How much more likely are they going to be to listen to you? A whole lot more. So I've got a design. Nobody's ever done it in the world before. That's usually the kind of stuff I work on. Or I've got a design. Well, no one's ever done this before. We've done something similar at this bank. We've done something similar at this hospital. With these 3 service providers, we've done something and they've yielded this. So even though what you're asking has never been done before, in our expertise, we've helped this organization, this organization, this organization with similar issues. Now, are they interested in what you have to say? Sure. It's the same situation. Nobody's ever done this before. Trust me, I've been there. My whole career has been doing things for which there's no construction manual. That's why I have no tolerance for troubleshooting in my life. I've done a full amount of it. It's got to be a Mac, and I got a spare one because I don't even think about it when it gets bad. I'm just going to re-image the operating system from the exact copy and go back to it because I don't like to troubleshoot because I've done it for a lifetime. But that's the principle of social proof. I'll go back to you, Chris.
Yeah, so that hotel example there, I like that. There's plenty of examples of that, specifically from the hotel industry, but I'm sure that there's examples of that in almost every industry there is. The simple fact of saying other people find this useful. Other people have benefited from this. Other people. It's like, oh, I'm going to get left out. I should do this. Other people are taking advantage of this. I should take advantage of it. That's before you and I had talked about this, I had never even thought that social proof was as big of an opportunity as it is. Do you happen to have any examples of a social proof that we might be able to pull from like a cloud architect role, or that where it could benefit a cloud architect in a situation?
Sure. I've literally competed against better companies in my life. And while competing against better companies, I had a better solution, which worked better, was faster and cheaper. When it comes to tech, if you're better, faster, and cheaper, usually you win. If you're 2 out of the 3, you usually win. I competed on a switching deal, on a routing and switching deal, around 2001. I brought in some of the greatest experts in the world. I literally brought the person that programmed the BGP, that coded the BGP code on the router to go talk to the BGP expert on the other end. We blew them away with the technology. Then I got letters written to my manager, letters written to the CEO. Oh my God, you sent Mike. Mike is incredible. He's given us expertise, this. And you know who the deal went to? Our competition. And you know what they told us? They said very clearly, you have a better solution. You've treated us better. But 80% of the customers use this vendor. You have less than 1% market share. Because you have less than 1% market share, if you quit this company and it doesn't work and it goes bad, I'm the CIO, I'm going to get fired. But if I buy that inferior solution that everybody else uses, it's going to be fine. Even if it doesn't work so good, I have a job. That was an example of where social proof worked. I'll give you a personal example. I posted a video on how to get a cloud architect job on Reddit. I literally received 50 facepalm awards. Now, 100 people that got hired later, a YouTube channel with 30,000 followers, a LinkedIn thing that I gained 11,000 followers in the last year. I make that same post, people see my results. Mike's a genius. Oh my God, Mike's a genius. Mike's a genius. But I had no social media following. I had 152 LinkedIn followers. Who were they? VPs, senior vice presidents, executive vice presidents, and CEOs of big tech companies. That's all I had because I don't use social media. I'm a private person. Nobody would know my name. Now, I've written an article stating those same things in DevOps magazine, Information Week magazine. I don't know, Chris, I've written that same article in at least 30 magazines right now. Informa, Tech Target, Information Week, Tech Radar, DevOps, you name it. Everybody wants me to write articles now. Why? I got a big following. There's social proof, and I have to hear what you have to say. Now, if I would use Reddit, which I don't, I wouldn't be getting the silly awards. People would be, oh, I love it. But I don't have the time to be everywhere, and I love YouTube.
All right. Well, I wish I had more to bring to the conversation, but
you will on the next one.
I will on the next one. Yeah. But there's a couple of things that came in the chat box, and we can address them now, or we can bring them up later. So this is an interesting situation that Robert shared, and it's not unusual. I've seen situations such as this happen, not exactly like this, but Robert says years ago, he asked for a raise in a new role. My VP asked me to write up a job description with multiple revisions. He told me I was his number one priority. Weeks later, he hired someone else for the job I wrote up. What would you do?
Unfortunately, I've been part of this at one point in my career. And what happened was there was a job that was promised to an incredible engineer, one of the most decent and talented people I ever met. Unbelievable. And the company had to do 3 external interviews to prove that they had the best person. I went on this interview, had no idea that it had been promised to somebody else, and was hired by this company within 2 days. Now, when I took this job, on the first day, this person says to me, kind of like, hi. And I didn't know why the person didn't like me. We got to know each other, and he said, look, you're a good guy, but you got the job that I was promised. So what did I do? I coached this person, spoke to the management, and helped him get a better job, the job that was better than the one he wanted in the first place, because that's what I do. I'm a coach. And I felt bad for it, but it happened. So Robert, what would I do? I'd go to another company. I would say, I have a manager. They don't care about me. I've got skills. I'd be polishing up my resume, polishing up my LinkedIn profile, and calling every executive I know. Hey, Mr. CIO, do you need someone? Mrs. CEO, do you need somebody? I'm looking. That's what I would do. I'd be somewhere else within 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, those situations happen, and I agree with Mike there that obviously this is a situation from the past, so we're not giving you relevant feedback for how to handle it right now. But if this situation were to happen today or next week, then my recommendation would be, well, now you know where your company stands, so you can prepare yourself for better opportunities, because that's like Mike said. But
what you do is you look for a new job while you're employed. You never want to be getting a job when you're unemployed. So you go there and you look and you look and you look. You polish up your resume, you focus on the things that are going to help you, and you get out of there.
Yeah. And Robert says he had a family and couldn't leave. Yes, of course. Like
Of course, you stay there until you can.
Stay there. Yeah. You continue working while, but you would have the benefit of knowing this is where the company stands. No guessing how loyal they are or what they're worried about. You know where they stand, and so you know what you can set your agenda together. Let's see. So the Cyber Mommy brings in a question here. I love that name.
I like it too. It's great.
Yeah. I'll let you read it.
I'm trying to read it. Why don't you translate it for me? Because you're better at reading things that have some things that are a little challenging to read.
All right. So in a meeting, the CIO, any question? And when they asked if there was any questions. And when I asked about the lack of cybersecurity policy and scoping for security projects, everyone lost all color from their faces. Is it time for a new job?
Well, not necessarily. Can you influence the team to write a better security policy? Can you create a security job for yourself? I have. I've been in companies and looked, wait a second, this is a big gaping hole. And then what I did, I built a business case around fixing it. You have this problem. The average cost of a security breach costs X, Y, Z dollars. The frequency of security breach to an organization is X, Y, Z dollars. Therefore, the expected value of the chances of you getting hacked each year cost X, Y, Z dollars. Now, here's the cost to mitigate this. And if the cost to mitigate this is less than the cost of the risk, you win every single time. So this is a business acumen situation. This is a leadership situation. Do you have the leadership skills to go do the right thing? Then keep going. Build it. Create yourself a CISO job. You can easily do it. I've done it. But find out what's going on and why. Are they willing? Are they open? But yeah, I've seen a lot of people lose all the color from the face when you expose a major weakness. Tell me about your network. Oh, I got to tell you, we examine people's networks and you find out that somebody that didn't know networking did networking, which is most of the time. And it's always the equivalent of the 10x AWS certified person. We have to laugh at these people because they get certifications in 10 people's jobs. And the reality is it takes your whole life to master one career. And when somebody gets certified in 10 different people's career, they don't even know what they don't know about the career. And networking is one of those things. I have 10,000 hours in just BGP. And that's around the time I started to understand it. So yeah, seriously, it's good that you identified that's an opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity, and every opportunity is an opportunity for a solution. Convince them they need you. Got opportunities there.
Yeah, I was going to say that definitely presents an opportunity. I've been in positions myself where at previous employers, there's something needed that doesn't exist, and I created it and made it exist. So a similar situation here. If there's the opportunity, and if they're receptive to it, then that's a unique situation that you might be able to take advantage of.
Yeah.
So, so I've got one more question before we get to the next one. So Barth asks, how to act when you aren't the leader, but your team is coming to you to ask questions. I don't want to disrespect the hierarchy, but at the same time, I'm being the team chosen leader.
Exactly. Keep being a leader. Now, here's the thing. If people keep coming to you for questions, that does not mean you're the leader. It means you're a subject matter expert. How do you become a leader? You take leadership skills, which are executive presence, emotional intelligence, communication skills, business acumen knowledge on how to influence others, knowledge on how to sell, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're always selling. You have to sell yourself into the promotion, et cetera, et cetera. So what you're talking about is something called situational leadership. It's normal. I got a 6-person SEAL platoon. I got a breach in the door. The breacher's now in charge, even though they're not the officer, but they're the expert there. Now everybody breaks in that door. Now the other lead's there. Hey, wait, there's some reconnaissance, but there's a sniper somewhere. They're now in charge because they've got the eye. So the point is this is normal. Now, how do you act? You act grateful that people are coming to you. You help people. You deliver a bunch of favors. You volunteer in meetings in front of the hiring manager, in front of the manager's manager, in front of the VPs, and you show everybody that you're doing it, but you communicate with excellence, with executive communication skills and leadership skills and sales skills and emotional intelligence, and the next thing you know, you're the manager. I had it. I was a systems engineer. I was asked to design a voice network. I knew nothing of voice. So what did I do? I became the leader. I built a team of 16 of the best voice engineers and architects I ever found, and QoS architects. Next thing I realized, I'm leading a huge team. I didn't know the VP was going to come visit me on site. And I'm like, would you like to come with me for lunch? I like to take the team for lunch. And he says, you do that? I said, of course. It's hard working with the customer. It gives me a chance to take them off site and diffuse things. It was 5 o'clock at night. The VP was still there. I said, hey, would you like to join us for drinks? Every day I buy them all a single drink, and I get together and ask what they need. I went back to work the next day and had a promotion. I got told, I hear you're a great manager. I was no longer the systems engineer. I was an architect because I did the job, and that's kind of what happened. So we'll get you there, Barth. We'll work on that executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, scale skills, and then you will be the official leader instead of the de facto leader.
All right, so let's look at the next one, which I think kind of is a good follow-up to the question that we just had. So let's talk about the principle of authority.
The principle of authority. I love this. And you want to use it to your advantage. So here's the thing. People are much more likely to listen to a person of authority. Give you an example. Perfect example. Early in my career, I only had about 6,000 hours of BGP knowledge, but I knew BGP. Customer had a BGP problem. I gave him a great answer. They didn't like the answer. They had somebody else call me. I gave them the same answer. They called me else. Somebody called me. Got to the point people were frustrated. So I knocked on my manager's door and said, Devendra, would you like to talk to the customer? They're upset for some reason. Devendra, who didn't know BGP half as well as me, said, Mike is the best BGP person in this entire company. I'm sorry that you heard that way, but what Mike said will help you. It will solve you, and it will solve all your problems. 5 minutes later, they were calling me back, thanking me for my advice. Wait, someone that was authority just told them the same thing that I did, but now they were interested. Chris, in a hotel, you ever have somebody go to the front desk and yell at the receptionist and then yell at the next person, and then you go there as the manager of the hotel, the general manager, and all of a sudden they're listening to you?
Oh, definitely. All the time. It's such a prevalent thing that we're prepared for it all the time. It's, I mean, I've even seen some hotels where the GM will be at the front desk, and they are the first point of contact from the guest, and they don't realize that they're the general manager, and they give it to them, and they're just like, they say, okay, and deal with the situation. There's one in particular where they said, I want to speak to the manager on duty. And it was the general manager that they said this to. And the general manager goes back and grabs the manager on duty who's on their break. And the manager on duty comes back out, and the person is saying, I can't remember exactly what they said, but they said something to the effect of, is there any way that you can make this person do their job? And the manager on duty said, well, she's my boss. And it was all that perception of authority, the perception that the first person that they came to was not the authority figure.
Right.
They had to go to somebody else. So I just, you asked about if I've ever dealt with that in hotels. It's so funny that the first person that people deal with, and it's not just hotels, it's the phone call center, the support center, the tech support center, the grocery store, the first point of contact doesn't have the authority that you want to handle your situation.
Exactly.
So you got to go to somebody else.
And you've seen a lot, time and time again, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and it happens with us too.
Oh yeah.
It happens with us too. People don't realize. I know that it's happened to you. People will come to you and say something about the program or how they try. I know there's an example sticking in my head where somebody tried to convince you that they had contacted you 3 times that day, and you didn't answer, and you're like, you are talking to Mike right now.
Exactly.
So anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the principle of authority. But it's a very interesting topic. I love. I can't wait to hear what else you have to say about it.
It really is. And you know what I used to put on my business cards when I worked at Cisco when they told me I was a healthcare architect? I was like, wow, healthcare architect. It's my new job. So I put RN, NP, MSN, MBA, and I had the CCIA there to prove that I was an architect, that I knew something of tech. Look, I had a half a dozen other certifications, but I intentionally left them off my business card. I left them off my bio, and I did it for a reason. Internal medicine nurse practitioner, master's degree in healthcare, master's in business, CCIA. That's an authority. I walked in, and the people were ready to listen to me before I even said a word. Now, by comparison, CCNA, CCNP, MCSE, CISSP, and nurse. I would have walked in there and laughed at me. They'd say, who are you? Now, I had those things because, my manager said, look, you need to be a CISSP. So I dedicated a week to it, and it was a CISSP. And it was like, all right, fine. Now, I'm like, why did I have to do this? And he said, every systems engineer has to do it. So all 5,000 of us became a CISSP in a week. Sounds like a lot, but no, they brought in people, they spoon-fed us the information, and we all became one. But build your authority. When you build your resume or your LinkedIn profile, it needs to scream one thing. If an architect has DevOps and SysOps and developer on the resume, you're not hiring them because you're showing that you're everything that they're not. I had a student, I think he was an IIT graduate. He was one of the smartest people I've ever coached. He was also one of the most technical people I've ever coached. He went on 14 interviews. And every single time they asked him about software development. And he asked me then, he said, Mike, what am I going to do? I said, show me your resume. And I looked at it. Python scripting, DevOps tools, this. And I said, here's the reason you're not getting hired. You got SysOps, DevOps. Are you the maintenance person Or you're the programmer, you're the person that does automation. I can tell you what you're not. You're not my architect. And if you interview with me, I'm going to pummel you with security questions. And he said, Mike, what do? I said, take all these stupid certifications off of your resume. And he said, but I spent a year on the DevOps, this, SysOps, this. I said, do you want to get hired or do you want this garbage on your resume? I said, I need you to look like an authority. And he said, doesn't having all this? And I said, well, if you wanted an airplane pilot, would it make you happy if the person was a flight attendant? Or would you say, no, they've got less pilot experience? What do? We stripped all this garbage from his resume. Within 2 weeks, he was working as an architect, making hundreds of thousands of dollars more than he ever had in his life. Because we made him an authority. We built that authority brand. You have to be an authority. So how do you leverage this? You're at work. You've got an architecture that you want to propose. Bring the VP of sales with you. They talk and all of a sudden you're a genius. You're a genius because you brought the VP and the VP walked in the room and said, Chris is smart. Listen to Chris. The authority said Chris is the person to listen to. He's the person to listen to. When you give a speech, have somebody else introduce you. Don't introduce yourself. I would never give a speech. Hi, I'm Mike Gibbs. I've been in tech for 20 years at a professional speech. I'd have the person, the studio announcer, announce me and read a bio. Why? Because they made me the authority walking into the room. Because I'm now the authority, I don't have to fight so hard. So bring your manager with you. Bring an authority figure. Shape your resume to be an authority figure. And you'll be good to go. That's how I would leverage that.
So is this an opportunity for discussion about authority hacking?
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, I write LinkedIn posts that my students comment on. I write special posts. I don't write them so they can comment on them, but here's what happens. My students comment on my posts, which are designed to elicit a certain thing. 3 days later, recruiters are calling them because they commented on my post and they said something and they took my authority. Interesting. If I were to make a video on BGP, it might be there. I'm a Cisco expert who worked for Cisco for a decade. Let's talk BGP. Which is more interesting? The person that worked for the biggest networking vendor in the world for a decade? Or the person that's an expert in networking? Drag it with you. You know what it was like saying, hi, it's Mike Gibbs from Cisco? There was not a person in the world that didn't return my phone call. Actually, to these days, there's not a person that doesn't return my phone calls either. But the point is use that, steal that authority. Steal it. If Bill Gates makes a post that you find interesting, share it with your own spin. Just the fact that Bill Gates' word in there, some of that authority is coming to you. That's the reason why. So think about these things, and that it works. Leverage that principle of authority. Ask authority figures to like and comment and share your post for you. So that you know. Soon enough, you'll be an authority yourself.
All right. So I've got 2 more principles to cover. So I will ask Mike to talk about, I can't recall which one's your favorite one. So whichever one's not your favorite, tell me to put the banner up.
Scarcity.
Scarcity. All right. There we go. The principle of scarcity. Let's see what you have to say about that one. And now, if anybody has any questions, make sure to be putting them in the chat box so that we can take them or we can save them for afterwards. Either way, make sure to put any questions in the chat box for us.
Absolutely, because I promise you will answer some. So scarcity. People value resources that are more scarce. Which is worth more to you, mud or diamonds? Diamonds. Why? Because they're scarce. Now, I remember a TV show called Alf when I was a kid. And in Alf's world, gold was the cheapest commodity in the world. But lint, the kind of stuff that would end up in the dryer, was the most valuable commodity in the world of Alf. This alien life form show. It was fantastic. It was comical. But anyway, so here's the thing. So this guy had a spaceship, this alien, filled with gold, everything. And he was stealing all the lint from the dryers. And his adopted family, like, what are you doing with the lint? And he was like, I'm holding it. It's worth a lot of money. And they laughed at him. And he said, if lint's not worth what? Worth a lot. And they said, gold. He said, gold's cheap. I got like 18 million pounds of it sitting in my spaceship. And they were like, okay, let's take the gold. But that's the thing, scarcity. Whatever is scarce is valuable. Does everybody remember these supply and demand curves in economics? You've got, and here's the reason we don't recommend programming careers. What's taught in college? Programming. What do people learn in the code schools, in the camps? Programming. What does everybody teach? Programming. Is that a scarce thing? Not at all. The economy tanks and all of a sudden companies need to outsource. All the programmers are laid off and they'll be hired cheaper programmers somewhere else. Why? Because it's a commodity. Lots of people know how to code. It's no big deal. By comparison, how hard is it to find a BGP guru? Really, really tough. And when that BGP guru earns $300,000 or $400,000 a year, because they're a scarce resource and they're critical. Now, if all of a sudden everybody knew BGP, is the BGP resource expensive? No, they're cheap. So the key is scarce resources are valuable. When I was a kid, I knew the CEO of a company. He had this thing called the Palm Pilot, which was like this little organizer that he had names and phone numbers in, and I wanted to be just like this person. Oh my God, that was the stupidest idea I ever had. I wanted to be so important that I had to write my notes in a digital little device so I would know where to go and when to go there. Now, I got to tell you right now, I get 1,000 emails, Slack messages, LinkedIn messages, text messages a day. I don't want to be reached at all. I want to go hide in my spare time because busy people or important people are scarce. When I get on the CEO's calendar and ask a question, 6 weeks from now, if you're lucky, 8 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now. Want to be able to call me? I'd love to do it, but it's going to be 2 months minimum. My team's available for people instantly because I'm scarce. Not because I want to be, because I'm scarce, because I'm that busy. The demands on me are just so high. So how do you apply this to your career? When you're looking for a job and you get a call from AWS, when can you meet me? Give me some times. Do not say, I'm available anytime, anywhere, just take me. Don't do that. Instead, give them some times. I'm available on Friday, 2 to 4. Thursday, 1 to 5. Wednesday, 9 to 12. This week. The following week, I'm available on this. Now, what happened? You're a more scarce resource, which means everything you have to say is going to be more valuable, sweeter to them, and they're going to like you more because you're scarcer. You just raised your value. You want to go out on a date. You see somebody that's attractive. When can you go out? I'm free every day. Is that going to work? Or are they going to be petrified and scared off? They're going to be scared off. I know you're busy, but I'd love to take you out. Do you have any time, like 3 weeks from now? It's a different response. So kind of keep that. So scarcity matters. I'd like to bring in this expert to talk and consult you in your architecture, but she's really hard to get. So it'll be really lucky if I can get this person. Now you bring in this person to talk to your client. How excited are they? They're very excited because it's a scarce resource. Important things are scarce. You got a supply and demand curve problem right now with real estate, or at least you did. Interest rates were low, And people were looking at payment, not what they were going to mortgage. And they were bidding up prices high on houses. Now, people are starting to lower their prices on houses because they can't sell. Because dynamics changed. Who knows what the future will bring? But that's the point. Scarcity of resources. So be a little more scarce. And you'll be there. Because you'll be more scarce, which means you're more valuable. So don't do something that everybody else does. Have something that's a scarcer resource. So look for those really critical high-value skills. Learn them. When I know what they are, I'm going to tell you right now. I can find 1,000 technical people in a minute that know a little bit about a lot of things. I can find 1,000 10x AWS certified people, and I can't hire a single one. They're worthless for me. Completely garbage worthless. And here's the reason why. They don't have any depth. I need depth. They've got nothing. They don't even know what they don't know. By comparison, you show me someone that knows cloud networking, and I'll show you somebody that's got a $300,000 job. It's that hard of a resource to find. So master your craft. Become great. Treat other people great. You want to know what the other scarce resource is? It's easy to find tech people, but it's impossible to find tech people that can talk. I'm not joking. If you can speak well, write well, lead, present yourself well, have some executive presence, some CXO relevance, some business acumen, you'll get hired for jobs that are way beyond your capabilities because it's such an important skill. When you're a scarce resource, you are much more valuable. Want to add anything to that, Chris?
No, I think you're good. I'm good. I was gonna tell you to just keep on rolling into the next one. You're doing great.
Okay, we're gonna hit my next favorite principle of Robert Cialdini's 6 Principles of Influence. And when it comes to gaining influence or how to lead with influence, this is my favorite. It's the principle of liking or likability. What does this say? We're more likely to listen to people that we like. Think about it. Your spouse who you love tells you something. You're going to listen. Someone that you hate tells you something. You're not going to listen at all, even if they're right. You're not going to listen. Who do we hire? Believe it or not, statistically speaking, people we like. Who do we promote? Statistically speaking, people we like. Who do we fire? The people we don't like. So, good. Now let's talk about how do we apply this. If any of you have ever met a really good sales rep, you know, the kind of sales rep that sells $200 and $300 million in technology a year, what's the first thing they do when they meet someone? They establish rapport. What's the first thing you do in an interview? If you want to win the interview, you must establish rapport or a connection with that hiring manager. If you do, everything will sound sweeter and they'll be more likely to listen to everything you have to say. If you can't establish rapport, it is all over. Want to sell? Be likable. Want to lead? Be likable. Seriously, be more likable. Now, I came from the firefighter paramedic world early in my career. I loved it. I have the hernia disc to prove it, but I loved it. And for some reason, some of the paramedics and firefighters thought it was okay to be rough to the people they rescued. And there were days we were big and burly, and they were like, you drank so much, I'm going to tape you down to this board, put some tape on your eyebrows. And I said, why? Well, they woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I want to punish them for it. Look, they woke you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We have to go help them. They're sick. They need help. It takes just as much effort to be mean as it does to be nice. Just be nice. Want to hear something? Do you know which doctors get sued? The ones that the patients don't like. Do you know which people get fired when they do something wrong for the customer? The people the customer doesn't like. So be likable. And I don't mean being fake. If you are not authentic, your people will see it and you'll be fired instantly. People don't like people that are unauthentic, but be likable. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Seriously, it will change your life. I'm literally not joking. Just take the time to say hello to somebody. Say thank you to somebody. minor things, and the world knows you, and they see differently. So, kind of think about that. Why is the principle of liking my favorite? Because if there's one thing that means more than any other thing here, it's your likability. So, don't be a creep. Be nice. In fact, there was a really good movie called Roadhouse many, many years ago. It was about a guy who was taught to be a bodyguard in the bar. It was Patrick Swayze. I forget who the other character was. And Patrick Swayze, who was the expert bodyguard, said, be nice. And what about this? Be nice. Well, what about this? Be nice. What about this? Be nice until it's time not to be nice. And the point was, be nice. Kill the customer with kindness. And they were trying to get, now they swung at you. Okay, it's time not to be nice. Stop it. Politely escort them out of the building and be done with it. Be nice. So just treat others the way you want to be treated. If you go to a doctor and they care about you, are you going to go back to the same doctor? Of course you are. If you go to the doctor and they're staring at their computer the whole time and they're typing and they don't give a darn about your health, are you going to go back? You shouldn't. You should find somebody that cares. Find somebody that cares. So be better. Be likable. It's easy to be likable. Just treat others the way you'd like to be treated yourself. You don't like stingy people? Don't be stingy. You don't like cheaters? Don't cheat. Treat other people the way you'd like to be said. I see Marla in the chat box. Marla is just an amazing person, and because I know her, and the golden rule, which I never heard it called that, but it's called the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and you'll be more likable. How about you, Chris?
Really, the only thing that I have to add to this is be likable when it's hard to be likable.
Good.
So you can't just be friendly and likable and nice when people are friendly and likable and nice to you.
Right.
You have to be friendly and likable and nice in all situations. If you're getting, that doesn't mean that you have to bend over backwards.
Right.
If people are not nice. It means that if people are being cross or rude or obtuse with you, you still have to be appropriate in your response and interaction with them. It's really the only thing that I have to add to that is.
And I think that's perfect. I'm going to add something to this likability thing. So I'm not ordinary average people. I get it. I'm different. I think different. I act different. It's just the way my brain's wired. I've interviewed 6,000 plus people in my career. One of the things that I always do, usually there's a receptionist that's at the front desk that asks the person. I will come into that room and look before I even walk over to the person. I will look around everyone in the room. Chances are I can find the person because they're wearing a suit. And if they're not in a suit, I shouldn't be interviewing them in the first place. Because if they don't know the business etiquette on to wear in an interview, they probably don't belong in the job, because the jobs that I'm going to have, people are going to be customer facing. So there's that. If that person is mean to the receptionist, I will not hire them. Sometimes I take people to lunch on an interview. I will occasionally excuse myself to go to the restroom. Now, I won't be at the restroom. I'm going to walk by. I want to see how the person treats the waiter or the waitress, the busboy or bus girl. I want to see how they treat the cashier. If they're nice to me and not the cashier, they are an inauthentic person, and I cannot hire that person. So I think it's important to be nice and respectful to everybody. Me personally. And I got to tell you, for someone like me, if someone's not nice to the people that are subservient, they're not part of my team. Because I'll tell you what, I had interviewed a CEO many weeks ago on something, and the CEO said, I had to do this. It was humiliating. And I said, what was humiliating about it? He said, I hadn't done something like that for 30 years. It was humiliating. And I said, I'm a CEO. There's no job that's humiliating for me. I don't care if I have to vacuum the carpet or I have to get someone a drink. It's my company. No matter what happens, I'm responsible for it. So there's no job that's too good, not good enough for me. And I'm going to tell you something else. I wouldn't have anybody do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And I think that adds to your likability as well. Don't ask people to do things you wouldn't be willing to do. Because if you wouldn't be willing to do it, why should somebody else?
Yep. I think, so there's a good question here from Gilbert. They say, are some people naturally likable?
Yes, Gilbert, some people naturally have charm and charisma, and they're born with it. I was not. I, at least in my life, was the most socially awkward, confused introvert you could possibly imagine. But it's trainable. It's trainable. You can learn how to talk to others, how to walk to others. I've been coaching this stuff for decades. It's trainable. But yes, some people are naturally likable. I was naturally socially awkward as a kid.
And well, so I was actually about to say something. So the two are not mutually exclusive.
No.
You can be socially awkward, but naturally likable. My wife is a perfect example. She is naturally likable, but because she grew up ADHD and dyslexic, and she's very self-conscious of her flaws as it relates to that. So because of her self-consciousness, her natural likability doesn't come out immediately because she's too self-aware, too self-conscious. But once that awkwardness goes away, that likability comes out, and it changes the whole spectrum of the room. So there are people that are naturally likable and that are aware of it and know how to use it, and then there's also people that are naturally likable, but they have impediments to that natural likability coming out. So it's not just Mr. GQ or Miss Vogue over here with the pearly white teeth and all the friends in the world that are the naturally likable people. That's not the case. Natural likability has so many degrees to it. But the trainability that Mike is talking about is can help make it easier for your likability to come out. It's not that we're not that you're being trained to fake likability. You can be trained how to take advantage of the likability that you do have. Almost every single person has a likability factor. You just have to figure out what it is and how to use it.
And actually, while we're at it, let's talk about some things that we can do natively to be more likable. Right now, am I likable? I'm not at all. Don't cross your arms in front of your body if you want to be likable. You become less likable if you cross your arms in front of your body. Keep your arms at your side. How about the jacket in a suit? Don't button it if you want to be likable. Keep it unbuttoned. It makes you more approachable. I'm not joking. There's a lot of good data behind this. Now, the students in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and even our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program have a lot of, I call it, emotional intelligence training. Now, in that training, we do things that are way wackier and different than others, and here's the reason why. First, I can practice internal medicine, and two, I'm an expert on cognitive behavior therapy, which is very critical. I spent, my life studying emotional intelligence training, and medical people have the best training here. So here's the thing. Why do I have cognitive behavior therapy, yoga, meditation techniques for my people? Well, for two reasons. One, emotional intelligence is the ability to control your emotions and not other emotions. And if you know self-control, guess what? You're more likable because you're emotionally intelligent. But here's the thing. If you're sad, you're not likable. If you're angry, you're not likable. So I teach all of this emotional control to make the person happier and healthier, because when you're happy and healthy, hey, everybody, how are you today? It's so good to see you. So we do a lot of self-improvement work on our people because it's that critical. It's that critical. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So you can train likability. We executives have lots of training on how to button our clothes, which clothes to wear because of it. Because literally do it. Don't cross your arms in front of your body. open body language. These are the simple things that we're taught.
Yep. So those are our principles of influence. Sorry, my brain is wiped. But I know we've got quite a few questions in there. Do you want to add anything before we get to questions, Mike?
Well, with that, Alonzo, with you having part COVID, I feel like I've done a lot of babbling. So let's get some people to ask some questions while we talk about Robert Cialdini and the 6 principles of influence, how to lead with influence, and gaining influence.
All right, perfect. So let's see here. So there's a question from way back that I know we wanted to address. The individual that asked the question is not here. He had to leave for class, but I want to bring it up because it's great it needs to be brought up any chance we get to bring it up. So their name is Matt. Matt has paid for a 6-month batch course in architect, DevOps, and security, but I'm convinced I need your architect course. I would love to learn from the master. Your teaching style is amazing. I currently have no background in IT and no other education. I do have customer service and sales experience, designing vehicle repair solutions and managing multiple databases.
Okay, so this person actually has good background. Customer service and sales is a major, wonderful background. Now, unfortunately, the previous slide where this person studied security, DevOps, and architecture, unfortunately will not help the person, and here's why. And this is the saddest thing ever. An architect designs, presents, and sells. We don't do DevOps at all. In fact, when we get study DevOps and we know DevOps, it makes us look like an engineer and not an architect. So unfortunately, this person paid for training that will make it impossible for him to get a cloud architect job. And we see this every day. The saddest thing to me is people do all this tech training, but they're not taught system design. They're not taught digital transformation. They're not taught how to sell. They're not taught how to lead. They're not taught emotional intelligence skills, executive presence skills, how to do an ROI model, how to calculate the expected value of a solution, how to respond to an RFI, RFP, RFQ, et cetera, And this question really upset me, Matt. And I had a student very recently. He spent $35,000 for some boot camp to help him level up and get a job. And in the end, he had a certification that was worthless. He came and called me and said, Mike, what do I do? Here's the course I took. And I said, I am so sorry. Now, he's now working at a big bank as a cloud architect. We took him in 6 months later. In fact, he won a contest that we actually had and got our training free as a winner of the contest. And now he's got himself a beautiful job. And he wants to come back and talk to all you guys about how great it is being a cloud architect. He loves it. He's happy. I wish I didn't see this every day. And here's what's going on. I'm going to make a LinkedIn post about it. You can't be an architect, DevOps, and security person because they're 3 separate careers. You can be one of them. And unfortunately, architects design, present, and sell. We have nothing to do with DevOps. I know nothing of DevOps. We don't have a DevOps course. Why do I know nothing about DevOps? I've been an architect for 25 years. I don't do anything related to software releases. So we see this, and it's very sad. So, Matt, if you get this, we would love to work with you. We will take the background that you have in customer service and sales, and we will nurture that and teach you how to sell billion-dollar solutions through ROI modeling, executive presence, and CXO relevancy. We will teach you the critical things that you need to know, which are the network and the data center. And then we'll teach you how to design, present, and sell, how to interview, and we'll hopefully get you cloud hired, and you're going to do great. It doesn't matter what your background is. We get people hired with 0 background all the time. But what does matter more than anything is your level of commitment. Everyone wants to call and tell me what they've done in the last 20 years. And I say, yeah, so. And they're like, but I've done this, right? I have 20 years tech experience. And I say, yeah, so. I say, what do you want to do tomorrow? And they're like, but I said, doesn't matter what you did. I said, does it matter what you ate yesterday for dinner? And they say, no. And I say, I don't care what you did in your career in the past either. I care what you want to do in the future, and we'll build you the plan. Are you willing to work hard enough to achieve that plan? That's the key secret to success. It has nothing to do with your past. Your past is irrelevant. What you ate for dinner and lunch yesterday doesn't affect you today, unless maybe you got indigestion because you ate wrong. So eat healthy today, and tomorrow you'll feel great. So we'd love to work with you, Matt, and I would be honored in every way to help you get to your career goals.
All right. Great answer. And they're also, they said that they'll be with us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. also.
Wonderful. I'll be thrilled. I'm not going to run past 8 o'clock at night because I know you have COVID and I'm just recovering from COVID, so we're not there, but I'd like to answer as many questions as we can between now and 8.
Yep. So Angela's question from earlier, how to recognize when to quit negotiating in business and life in order to avoid a long-term loss for a short-term gain?
So here's a couple of things. Don't negotiate anything you're not willing to lose, first and foremost. But you should never try and crush your enemy in a negotiation. You should try and win the negotiation. So how do you win a negotiation? You find out what really matters to your opponent. And then you find out what really matters to you. Then, through the work of the Harvard Negotiation Project, we come up with terms like BATNA. You figure out what is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement before you get involved in the negotiation. And that keeps you from accepting anything that you don't want to do. So you got to look at the people, Angela. You got to read the people. When you speak to the people, are they open? Are they closed? Are they angry? In the negotiation, you may have to stop, take a break, and go back to it. But what's really important is to separate the person from the problem. And what's really important is to allow the person to save face. See, here's the thing. You've got to negotiate something to achieve your goals, and that person has to negotiate something to achieve their goals. Now, in most cases, that person has constituents that they're negotiating for. And they can't go back and say, Mike clobbered me, and I'm a total loser. They can't do that. So what you can do is you can really figure out what matters. Give that person something that they can take home as a win. Something that their company is going to be happy with. And that's how you really win the negotiation. So what's your reconnaissance or your intelligence telling you about what the person wants? And if you don't know, you go find out. Research, research, research. The better armed you are with information, the better you can win. But always, always give the person something. And that way, you don't clobber them and destroy the relationship. You may even gain their respect in the process.
All right. So I'm looking for some questions over here.
Marco had a question about our training, which is a reasonable question, but I also want to make sure we answer some questions.
Let's see. I'll ask, you said Marco?
Yeah.
Alvarez? Yeah, so I'll put that one up while I look for the remainder.
So Marco asked a very good question. What's the biggest advantage of the live class packages versus the online recordings only? You can get hired and trained with either one. It's the same program, but there are subtle differences. Every day, one of several hundred recruiters calls me and says, Mike, do you know anybody that's ready to be a network architect, cloud architect, enterprise architect? And the people that come to my classes that I know, I can say, Abigail is a rock star. You need Abigail on your team. Or Marla is one of the best leaders I've ever met. If you need a chief information officer, she's the person I recommend because I know her. I can't do that for someone that's taken my online class. And here's the reason, Marco. I don't know them. So I can't do that. Now, in the live classes, you can attend the live classes and you can ask questions in class, and I teach the course, which is great. In the recorded class, you have to send a message on Slack. You can't ask the question personally. No. Do people get through and hired on that? All the time. But there's that. But there's other stuff too. For example, right now, many of my students are co-authoring a Google Professional Cloud Architect book with me, which we'll give away for free when it's released. Why do I author books with my students? Well, it's called authority hacking. I'm an authority. I've been in this industry for 25 years. And when students write books with my name and my company's name, it gives them a leg up. And because of that, they're more likely to get hired. They can say AWS book author. Very helpful. Marco, I have some of my students, in fact, 50 of them right now, are volunteering in a project with my good friend Alphonse Shang, where we're teaching basic cloud computing to people in sub-Saharan Africa, free. Now, we're teaching the tech, we're not teaching the skills that we do, but the point is we're doing it all free, and my students are doing it. So now I've got students that can say AWS instructor. So by doing the live class, you get access to a lot of projects and you've got more employment opportunities. But, Mark, I'm going to be very clear. Everybody that takes our program has enough training to get hired. And as long as they do the work, should get hired. Chris, you can bring in the next one.
All right. So I just had it. Okay, here we go. So Amim asks, can you talk more about the role of specialization versus generalization in the current market and how to do well when the demand for your specialized role gets tight?
I mean, it's a good question. Demand for experts never goes away. I'm going to say this right now. Demand never goes away, and here's the reason why. It's impossible to find an expert. I mean, it's literally impossible. How impossible is it? Well, I need a good networking person. I did 5,000 interviews and I've hired less than 10 people in my life. I mean, and guess what? 3 of them knew nothing about technology at all. 3 of them knew nothing out of the 5,000 interviews. Why did I hire these 3? Because I liked them so much. They were so smart. They had the right attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and passion. I taught them. One became the CEO. So the key is, experts are always in demand. Now, I mean, in a bad economy, do you know who's not needed? The 10x AWS certified person, because they don't know anything about anything. They don't even know what they don't know, which means they're unable to do anything without supervision. So always, 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 you do better as someone with expertise and knowledge. Now, how do you specialize? Well, it depends. There's a couple ways you can specialize. And I'm really going to tell you, if you really want to earn money, your specialization thing should be on the business side and have nothing to do with tech. But how can you specialize? You can become the world's greatest cloud security architect, or a great cloud architect, a great cloud IAM architect. It's a different role. And there is critical need for these people, and they earn the most of the technology people. How do you want to get paid even more? Do this. Master an industry. So think about this. When a telecom exec, Marla is my chief technology officer, unbelievable leader. I'm still waiting for somebody to call me and say, Mike, I need a CTO. It hasn't happened yet. Because it'd be Marla every single day. Got a huge background in telecom and networking and cloud and a great leader. So how can you do it? You can become an expert in an industry. Now, I spent some of my life designing networks for service providers. And for the most part, I've worked on almost every one of the biggest internet service providers in the world. I know what I'm doing there. I also designed a system for banks. Now, at some point, I became an enterprise architect in healthcare. Now, I know healthcare, right? I can practice medicine. I also used to be a nurse. So I know almost every critical job in the hospital. I have so much business acumen in healthcare. When Cisco said, Mike, I want a healthcare architect, I jumped 3 levels of jobs in this single promotion. Why? Because it was so rare to find someone that could speak, right, and knew the business of healthcare who also knew technology. So there's that. So the better you are at your job, trust me, there is no shortage of cloud architects. And if the economy gets tighter, which we think it'll be, the companies are going to have to hire more cloud architects. Why? Cloud architects design, present, and sell pre-sales, which means we bring money into the companies, which means they can't afford to lose us. Who can they lose? Programmers. Why? They cost money. Who can we lose? Back-end engineers. We don't need them. Why? We can replace them. Now, are they important, critical? Yeah, but if times get bad, where are my engineers coming? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going straight to India, Pakistan, Africa, Ukraine, and all these other places that have great engineers at a lower cost of living. It doesn't matter where my engineers are. They could be underground. Heck, in some companies, they lock the engineers in the basement and bring in pizza because they don't want them to talk to the customers. It really doesn't matter. So the point is, the role of being good at your job, being an expert at your job, it's almost impossible to find. You interview 1,000 cloud architects or cloud architect wannabes, You may find one person that knows what the cloud is. The rest of them know Python, sysops, DevOps, how to configure stuff, how to code stuff, but they don't know system design. So be an expert at your job. The worst thing that I've ever seen is when people decide to learn a little bit about a lot of people's jobs, because in the end, you know nothing about everything. So I spent 10,000 hours on BGP and nothing else. I spent another 10,000 hours on Tim Sparsenos and IP multicast video. 10 years of my life was on 2 routing protocols. I'm not joking, 2 routing protocols. How big is networking? Well, there's switching, there's other routing protocols, there's security things, there's everything, voice, data, video, all of it. I spent 10 years on 2 routing protocols. That's 15% of the Cisco certified internet expert that I spent 10 years on. Now, how deep do you think I knew? No. Now, if I need a job, hey, it's Mike, I need a job where we need BGP. I can have 15 offers inside of the first day. So be great at your job. Be the best at your job. And you'll be the highest paid, most in-demand person in the world. Good question there.
All right. So let's see. I saw a good question here from Al. So Al asked, what do you recommend if you're the type of person who finds it hard to be likable with people who are being phony?
I know Al, and Al's about as good of a guy as you're ever going to meet in your entire life. Al, be you. Just be you. Be fair, honest, ethical, and read the body language. So here's something that makes me sick. And guess what? Abigail asked a question, and it's going to answer her question at the same time. How do you know when the person you're dealing with is fake or phony? I'm going to tell you right now. Their body language does not match what they're saying to you. So here's what happens. When you hear a politician, this is going to help. Yeah, really, it's going to be a big difference in you. Don't believe them because their body language is telling you no. Well, they're telling you yes, yes, yes. Watch them. You'll see it all the time. Read the person's body language. Often in my youth, I didn't know it. I'd meet someone and I hate them. I'd come home and tell my wife, I hate this person. And she'd say, why? Did they say anything to you? And I said, I don't know. But I don't like them. What it really was is I was reading their body language, which was telling me one thing, and their words are telling me something else. Here's some interesting data for you, Al. It comes from Harvard. Did you know when we communicate, 55% of our communication is what we look like when we say something, 38% is what we sound like when we say something, and 7% is our actual content. Wait, 93% is not what we're saying. Whoa, that's a lot. So listen to that 97%. Don't just focus on the 7%. Most people focus on the 7%. I need to focus on the 93%. So I made a LinkedIn post, which some people didn't take correctly, and I talked about using your subconscious to make a decision. For any of you that are parents, have you ever had a child that was sick and you knew they were sick even though their fever was normal? They didn't have a fever, they didn't have a cough, they didn't have the chills because you looked at that child and you said they're sick? Of course you can. I remember when I was doing my medical rotations, there was a nurse practitioner that never worked as a nurse, and all of a sudden she's a nurse practitioner and she was my mentor. And she said, Mike, we're going to weigh this person. And I said, we're not going to weigh this person. We can't weigh this person. And she says, of course we're going to weigh the person. They have congestive heart failure. We need to see if they gained any weight because if so, their lungs could be filled with fluid. I said, we cannot lift this person. She said, we have to. I said, if we lift this person, they're going to die. We can't lift this person. And she says, Michael, help me lift this person. I'm your preceptor. Do you want to fail this internship? I said, no. I helped her lift the patient. You know what happened? I watched on the monitors. The patient went into VTAC and their heart stopped when they hit the ground. I did something called the precardial thump. I got ready to basically get the defibrillator to the cardioverter out of it, and my precardial thump restarted their heart because I could tell. So listen to your gut. I was actually at a traffic light in North Philadelphia. And while I was at this traffic light, I was with another paramedic. And I said, go through the red light right now. And he said, what? I said, turn the lights on and go through the red light. And he said, no. I said, right now, turn on the red light. And I said, if you won't do it, I'm going to punch you and then take over and drive through this red light. And he said, and he drove through the red light. Now, after we got through the red light, a mile later, he says, Mike, what's going on? I said, we were about to die and get shot. And he says, what do you mean? I said, I felt like we were going to get shot. My subconscious told me there was something going around and we needed to leave. And the guy starts laughing at me and he said, don't make fun of me. I said, what do you mean don't make fun of you? I said, I'm not making fun of you. I sensed danger. I knew we were going to die. He says, you're making fun of me. I said, how am I making fun of you? By saying drive through the red light. He says, you must have known I got shot at this intersection last year. I said, I had no idea you got shot at this intersection. I sensed danger, and my training told me to get out of here because of the danger. Listen to your gut. They call it a sixth sense, but it's not really a sixth sense. Your brain sees things that you're not consciously aware of. That's your gut. It's your subconscious. Learn how to use those things. I worked with someone for about a decade. This was the best business leader I've ever worked with. One of the smartest people I've ever met, and someone I'm very happy and proud to call a friend. At every meeting, she'd say, Mike, what's your gut tell you? Why did she say it? Because she knew that her gut and my gut, especially my trained gut, was better information what the people actually told us. So listen to your gut. That's how you do it, Abigail. Make sure the body language actually matches it. There used to be a really good show, I think it was on Fox, it was called Lie to Me. I only saw a couple episodes because I never had a chance to work, but loved it. Daniel, hello, Mike. Do you have any books recommended for people with an IT background? I really like how you combine tech and leadership skills. Well, Daniel, it depends on what your goal is, which will determine the books. So I only recommend, I'm not like other people. Some people say, to build your career, you should learn a little this, 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 and a little this. And in the end, what do you know? A little about a lot of things and nothing about what you need to. So I would say, what do you want to do? So Daniel, let's say you're a cloud architect, for example. I would say, learn networking. The first book I would read would be the Stevens TCP/IP book. Then I would read Routing TCP/IP Volumes 1 and 2. And I would read Internet Routing Architectures from Bassam Halabi. Then I would go to Dell EMC and learn about object storage, block storage, and file storage, which I would also do, or take our course. I then would go to F5 and learn about DNS. I would read the RFCs for DNS, for example. I would then go to F5 and learn about load balancers, how they work, since they've invented most of them for the last couple decades. I'd go to Cisco and Palo Alto and Fortinet and Checkpoint and read about security, since they basically do all the high-end security. But if I was an architect, I'd realize that it's not just about tech skills. It's about leadership skills. So I would read Robert Cialdini's 6 Principles of Influence, how to win friends and influence people, how to sell, how to do ROI modeling, all these things. So realistically speaking, Daniel, it's very critically dependent upon the career that you want. But I don't just recommend books, because the books for your job are different than the books for somebody else's job.
So that was the last question, Mike.
Well, given that you have COVID currently, and I see you coughing, and given that I've just gotten past COVID, and tomorrow we're going to go finish a boot camp and do a question and answer session, I think we'll call it a night. If you guys can all give me a hashtag cloud hired and a hashtag either cloud architect and cloud engineer. And I'd like to remind everybody that's here of the things that I'm supposed to. Tomorrow, we have the last day of the free Azure boot camp, and we are really excited about it. So finish it with us tomorrow. Next week, please sign up for the free subnetting and BGP workshops, critical stuff, and I'm excited to teach them. The following week, guess what? Sign up for the free AWS Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. Now, you know our Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp, more of a certified solution architect professional, but we start at the beginning and we work our way up. So we have lots of fun there. And we've extended our 4th of July 30% off celebration because Chris was sick and I was sick and nobody was able to talk to anybody. So let's get you all cloud hired. You want that first cloud architect job? Take advantage of the 30% sale. You want that first cloud engineering job? Take advantage of that 30% sale. And let's get the cats hired. Let's get everybody cloud hired. Let's get my parrot hired. Well, I used to have a parrot. I don't have a parrot. I've got a cat named Cindy who's beautiful. But she's got a job. She works for Go Cloud Career. She's a troubleshooting coach. She powers off servers with her cute little paws. She chews through Ethernet cables, and she does a great job of unplugging our OpenStack cloud servers and our VMware servers, which our students get to troubleshoot. They love her.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. Look forward to another great show next week, and all these upcoming things. The last day of the Azure Bootcamp tomorrow, and all the workshops next week, and the AWS Bootcamp the week after that. And again, use the July 4th coupon for 30% off, like Mike said. So, thank y'all, and for all the well wishes. Also, thank you guys. So.
Thank you all. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful night. Cloud hired, everybody, or cloud promoted. That's why we do all we do. We love it.
All right. Bye.